Welcome to week 3. Last week we started talking about some of the managerial aspects of sport. Your very last assignment, the sports organization assignment, asks you to analyze some of the managerial functions of a sport organization. So we started on that last week when we talked about marketing. Marketing is one of those managerial functions that I'm talking about. And this week we're going to continue with a few more managerial functions, and those are communications and facility management. So when you're thinking about that last assignment, which is the sports organization analysis, and you're wondering what a managerial function means, that's what I'm talking about. The various managerial areas of sports such as marketing, communications, facility management, and then going forward we'll talk about some additional areas in the coming weeks. That's what I'm referring to in your last assignment, if you've looked at that and wondered what I'm talking about with a managerial function. So this week, we're looking at 2 more managerial functions, and those are communications and facility management. So sport communication, what is that? Last week, many of you picked the Image Matters current issue that your textbook mentions in your weekly reaction assignment. And communications is related to marketing, but it's an important enough managerial function that we're going to talk about it separately. So sports teams are very concerned about the image that they project to the public, whether that's a positive image, things they stand for, or positive things that their players are doing, maybe community involvement. Or maybe communications is damage control, or image management is damage control when things go wrong. Maybe a player gets in trouble. Or right now, for example, we're seeing a lot of Major League Baseball teams wrestle with what to do with their extended netting right now, because we've seen some high-profile injuries this summer. Teams get a bad image when fans get hurt. That's never good. It's on the news. People react strongly to it. So how are Major League Baseball teams communicating their actions and concerns over this issue? The public wants to know what teams are doing about it and how they feel about these injuries that are happening. So that's a sport communication issue that's going on right now. And if you look a little bit, you may see various teams that are making statements or trying to make some kind of message to the public about how they're reacting to some of those injuries. So that's communication. We're also going to talk about facility management. This is just a crucial area in sports administration because it's directly related to fan and participant experience and safety. I talked about the Major League Baseball netting issue, and that's we talk about the communication that teams are making to the public about what they're doing. But the actual netting issue is a facility management issue. What changes are they going to make to their facility? So, another example is, what if a pool isn't in compliance with health and safety regulations set forth by the health department? It gets shut down. The health department issues a permit, and if the drain isn't visible or the chemicals are wrong, the health department will shut down the pool. And then if that happens here at UA Little Rock, then the Trojans can't practice. We have a swim team. They can't practice. They can't host a meet. So, it's if your facility isn't right, then your team can't play. So, and the same with the fan experience. So, think about a Trojan basketball game at the Stevens Center. What if the security procedures aren't up to date or correctly followed at a Trojans game in the Stevens Center? Somebody could get very hurt. So properly working facilities that are following procedures are critical to even having the event, having a team, having the event, keeping players safe and keeping spectators safe. So I like facility management just because it's so very critical to even having a sports event in the first place, and then making sure that something bad doesn't happen during that event. So, as soon as I can, I will be grading your assignments from last week. And, again, this is an online class. Your weekly reaction assignments are one of the important ways that we communicate. I ask you to communicate with me through the weekly reaction assignments. What did you learn? How did you feel about this? What connections did you make? And then I communicate back with you through my feedback that I give. And you can see that feedback in your grade center when you click on that assignment. And just a word about some of the citations that I ask you to provide. If I ask you to cite something from your textbook or from one of the articles that you read, and I don't see that, I take off points. I've asked you to have the textbook and I ask you to read those readings. So that's how I ask kind of for proof that you have read the textbook chapter that I've asked you to read or read the article. I ask you to cite it. And that's kind of how I ask you to prove that you have actually read that to me. So if I don't see that, I'm going to take off points. And also, I'm asking you to practice using APA formatted citations in the material, in your writing, so that's in text. And then I ask you again to cite that in a reference listing. So it may seem tedious, I know, but you'll use APA formatting in your other classes. So I just want us to practice this. The more you practice APA formatting, the easier it gets. You're going to see this in other classes, so we're going to practice that here. This week, there are 3 things due instead of 2. As usual, you have your weekly reaction assignment and your quiz. Those are the 2 things that are usually due. But then you have another assignment on top of that, and it's the sports reporter assignment. I love this assignment because I always see students come up with some really cool people to interview. And I often also see that those people love their jobs. So that's kind of a heartwarming theme that I see in common with a lot of your submissions with this assignment is a lot of sports related jobs are done because people love their jobs. And so that's one thing that I see often in this assignment. So that really just makes me happy. So 3 things due this week. Ask me any questions as you go along, and have a great week. And I'll talk to you soon.